Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Environmental Social Justice. I'm your host, 𝐷𝐐𝐉𝐨𝐻𝒻, and today's special guest is Zora Chung. She is with ReJoule. Now, ReJoule is a battery diagnostic and optimization startup company. Quite a fabulous name, I have to say, Zora. I love the name of the company. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I'm very happy to be here.
Anytime. I mean, you are quite fascinating. So I did a little research on you. You have a really amazing background, financial background. You work for some of the largest corporations out there like Clorox and Walmart. What led you to become the CFO of an energy company, a startup company?
Yeah, it was quite a transition. And I actually like to joke that, I went from one of the biggest companies in the world, Walmart.com, but, Fortune 1 to really going with my co-founder, Steven, to at the time, it was just an idea for him. So when I was at Walmart, I was actually starting to work with a lot of the startups that were under acquisition or just like much smaller online business units. So it felt like a startup, but obviously you're still at a really big company. But it was fascinating to be working with them just because of the scope. And it was very much like all hands on deck, where, at a bigger company, everybody plays their part, and that's really the purpose of the big company. And so I was very curious to see if I could survive in that type of environment. But of course, I had to find a cause that I was really passionate about. And so when Steven came to me with his idea, and I tried to help him vet it to see if it was like a strong business concept, that had some legs, or is it something that maybe you take to a research lab and do some interesting studies. And when we found that there was actually a gap in the market and that this was not an area that a lot of people were even focusing on, then that was how I decided to leave my full-time job at Walmart and then actually even move back to Los Angeles to be with the team, which happened in like early 2019 when we got our first grants.
I just want to really emphasize the fact that you went from a very safe place to something like startups are hard. We all know that startups are hard, but I love the fact you actually thought, you decided to dive in and say, is this economically viable? Having your background is so important because I know a lot of people that have brilliant ideas and they're super smart, but they don't focus on the business or the financial aspect. And that will make or break you. And what you did, clearly you're on top of your game because you know exactly what, will this work? Why will it work? And how are we going to get there, which is phenomenal. And most importantly, you saw a gap in the industry. And most people think that they've got this unique idea and then they'll research it and realize not that unique. ReJoule is incredibly unique. So if you can explain to people as simply as possible what ReJoule does.
Yeah. So we do battery diagnostics, focusing on electric vehicle batteries. So why is this important? Well, as a battery starts to age, which it inevitably does over time, it's important to understand how much it has aged. So even when you have cells that are produced from the same manufacturer in the same line, if you put them through the same conditions, they won't age uniformly. And that starts to cause problems. Yeah, this was one of the things that I learned in the process, and having them age uniformly is very important. That's why liquid cooling is such a big topic for like electric vehicle batteries, because as you can imagine, it gets really, really hot when the batteries are working hard to get you from 0 to 60 as you're like trying to get onto the freeway, for instance. So knowing how that battery ages can help us get the most out of that battery over its lifetime. So at a certain point, it might not be good enough for a new vehicle, but that doesn't mean that it actually can't be a remanufactured battery pack with maybe like a 3 or 1 year warranty, which actually does exist, right? Like if you're if you have like a Tesla, you do have the option to do a replacement battery pack. It costs, I think, like $10,000 to $15,000, but it lasts only for 1 year. That's how long they would warranty the battery for. It could last longer if you take care of it, but that's how long like Tesla would warranty the battery for instance.
And that's expensive for a lot of people. That's very expensive.
It is incredibly expensive, which is why it's important to only do those types of repairs when it's absolutely necessary. And even the process of testing the batteries are challenging right now. You have to take an entire electric vehicle battery pack out of the car, which weighs like thousands of pounds, right? And
This isn't like changing your oil. This is basically pulling apart your car.
yeah, you're pretty much pulling apart like the engine essentially, right? But it's the battery. And so in order to do that, you need specialized tools. You need people that are high voltage trained. And that can be very dangerous if it's not done properly. And it's like on top of that, just very time consuming. And so if you're able to do that by using our technology, where you can quickly just connect to the plus and minus terminals, or in some cases when the battery's still inside the car, which is what we're starting to do, we're actually testing it through the DC fast charging port. So it is no different than charging a car and pressing a few keys on a computer to be able to get a health result.
And what does the health result tell people? Like, how does that help them rather than going in somewhere and getting looked into?
Yeah, so where this is different than what you can do today. So some solutions is that you can pull data from the vehicle itself. That does exist, but it is incredibly difficult to actually get that information because many automakers do see it as proprietary. So even for Tesla, even in service mode, you can't easily find that information. And then the other alternative is to do a full charge and discharge. So you probably already know how long it would take for you to do that for your cell phone. So for a full electric vehicle, that's like 24 hours. So it's not really like a viable, scalable option. So what we're able to do is give you that information much faster and without requiring a lot of specialized tools and equipment, so that your average mechanic can be easily trained to do this testing without having to go through like high voltage training right now, which as I understand it, most shop owners will only send their master technicians because they don't want to send someone who's never been around a vehicle before to not only learn how a vehicle works, but then how a battery works as well. It's just too much information.
And they are high risk. I mean, batteries are different. It's, you know, if you have a mechanic, you want them to be experienced so they know how to deal with these things because, as you said, it is high voltage.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was thinking just the other day because, you know, we were driving over Labor Day weekend and most cars I do see now are electric. And then I thought about all the mechanics out there. And that's an entire industry that's suffering from no more oil changes, no more tune-ups, no more engine, you know. And I thought, okay, so everyone's taking their cars to the dealership to deal with the electric issues. Mm-hmm. This is a great option for a mechanic to train some people and value-added services.
Yeah.
It's very cool what they're doing. And also, as you said, a lot of these testing, it's highly, you need like lab conditions, like in-house lab conditions to get the data. So you're able to actually pull that data locally. As you said, you know, a mechanic could do it. So this is sort of a game changer for making EVs just more accessible to everybody. And making the batteries, you know, I guess it increases the longevity and the health of the battery.
Yeah, because at least people know what the battery condition is, and you can start to think about how to treat it and ensure that you're doing the right thing. And one thing about making it more accessible too, you know, one challenge is that most vehicles on the road right now, as you may know, are actually bought used, not new. And most EV sales have been new EV sales. We're starting to see a lot of those early first, second generation EVs start to retire from their first owner, but that doesn't mean that the vehicle and the battery is in poor condition, but the condition is questionable, right? There's always a question of how healthy is the vehicle. Now you have the question of how healthy is the battery. And unfortunately, the way that ages is not the same as how an engine ages. So miles and years on the road are not indicators of the battery's health. It's really more so like charging conditions, temperature, how you take care of it. So yeah, all those things kind of go out the door. And so like, how do you really value the battery and how do you give people confidence in what they're buying, especially if we just talked about how expensive it could be to replace that battery if it's out of warranty.
You know, it's funny, like this is an adaptation that people do have to get used to. I mean, electric cars are really not going away. Hydrogen cars are coming. You know, there are alternatives. And for the past 100 years, it's only been gas. And people say, well, I'm not changing. It's like, well, you know what? Back when the cars were new and people said, I'm not giving up my horse and buggy, I get it at the time. You just feed a horse and it keeps going. There are all these reasons for no petroleum cars. Yeah. And mind you, in the early days, there were electric, there were steam engines, there were all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But we adapted. Gas stations were built. The roads were improved. And it's just this adaptation of getting there. And I love the fact with ReJoule, people don't realize I have to think of my engine differently. It's not just how many miles did I drive?
Yeah.
Conditions. How did it charge? Because there are different ways to charge. Temperature variances. If you're in the South versus Canada, you're going to have a little bit of a different experience. And those are important to maintain. And what your system does is so simple. I mean, I know you're doing like people can do it in-house now, or it's simple. I'm sorry, in the car now, you don't have to pull everything out. Mm-hmm. Is this up and ready for people to get a hold of, or is there some way they can get on a list?
Yeah. So if you have listeners based in Southern California, the LA area, we are actually taking volunteers to bring their vehicles in to do testing. Normally, we would actually look to work with like big companies, but right now, as we're launching this beta, we are taking Tesla Model 3 long range as the first vehicle we're focusing on. We're targeting 30 vehicles. We're at about, I think, 15 right now. And so we're open to the public bringing their vehicles in. There's information on our website about this. So I'll include a link that you can have in the notes.
Yeah, actually, I have a good friend who's had a Tesla for a very long time. Two friends, actually, one of the first adopters. So they're probably prime and due for that particular test.
Yeah, that would be interesting data points for us to get because
it would be two different people. They, one travels a lot around. Just she's very busy. She does a lot of community engagement. The other guy, he's a local doctor, so he pretty much just goes to and from work when he's not riding his bike. So, very different things. So I will definitely I'll let them know about this because I think that would be very cool to see how differently these two systems run.
Yeah.
Learn. I love the name ReJoule because just so people know, a joule is a unit of measurement for energy. So it's just a cool name. Did you come up with that name, or was it the founder? Or?
I would have to give credit to my co-founder Steven. He was the one who came up with the name. Yeah,
it's a really good name. I mean, it's simple and it's easy to remember, and it's kind of just, it says what it means. It means what it says, which is something I love. Yeah. If people wanted to reach out to you and find you, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, there's a few ways. We have lots of ways to contact us on our website. We're also active on social media, mostly LinkedIn and Instagram. And then also for those that are hearing this, I guess, in time, we're usually at various conferences. The soonest one is RE+, which is in Anaheim. Yep. Next week, actually.
Yes, next week. I think we're getting together, aren't we?
I think I invited you to our demo. So we have a demo that is happening right after RE+. For those that are going to LA Climate Week, we're actually going to be featured at the Clean Energy Expo next week as well. And then for those that are in other areas, we normally go to the battery show. So we'll be there in early October. As well as the Advanced Automotive Battery Conference. So those are more industry specific. All of that information is also on our website for those who want to find the links and register or attend.
And and those conferences, because obviously I go to a lot of these things, they're just fun. You see new technologies and not just automotive and not just energy, but there's just a lot of new inventions out there. And like the Net Zero conference is coming up in Anaheim as well. And you just see cool stuff.
Yeah.
And you just kind of wander around, and the presentations are great. The educational series are great, but I always like to go to the exhibit halls and see what people are inventing and coming up with, because you guys have such great ideas that are game changers. It really is. It's a game changer of how we're going to live our lives.
Yeah.
It's so fantastic. So, and your ReJoule website is ReJoule.com?
It's ReJouleenergy.com.
ReJouleenergy.com. I knew I was missing something. It's very easy to remember. ReJouleenergy.com is very easy to remember. So thank you so much. I mean, Zora, you are doing amazing things. And I'm really excited with the fact, because I don't like waste. And battery waste, e-waste, is a thing. We need to reduce that. And by doing a gut check on your engine, make sure that battery's healthy, make sure it's running well. It is, if you're optimizing it, it's going to last longer. It will work better. And really, that's all we can ask of people to do.
Yes, exactly.
It's the little things in life. So, Zora, thank you so much for your time today. You're doing great work. And guys, if you can find them, please look them up, ReJouleenergy.com. Reach out. If you have a Tesla, get a diagnostic check, get a look at it. Why not? You got nothing to lose, and you might actually learn something very important that will save you money, which is what we all care about. So on that note, I will say thank you so much. I am Wendy Nystrom, your host with Environmental Social Justice. Now we are proudly sponsored by BioLargo. They just make life better. We'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.